Can you pull up that link I sent?
Sure.
Do you have that, the Jacques?
For the UFOs?
Yeah.
Sure.
I want to get into that. This has been floating around. Let's listen to some of this.
Okay.
So this is real quick. Can you just undo it so I can see the name again, where we're at? So this is from, I think his name, Vallée. Yeah, I think I say his name. Talk about UFO disclosure and how it could trigger complex religious security questions. This is from 8 News Now in Vegas.
Well, Vegas, yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Congress are demanding answers about deep, dark secrets hidden inside the vast national security apparatus secretly related to UFOs. New witnesses are being called to a public hearing that's set for next month.
One of the largest UFO programs ever funded by the government was based right here in Las Vegas, and nearly everything produced by that program is still hidden away.
8 News Now Chief Investigator George Knapp spoke with one of its central figures, scientist and author Dr. Jacques Vallée.
And just saying, well, just, disclose, doesn't answer any of that. Okay.
Jacques Vallée has been a central figure in UFO research and debate for more than 6 decades. He's often been at odds with UFO orthodoxy, was among the first to argue that the unknown craft seen for centuries in our skies and oceans may not be from other planets, but from other realities. He's heard the demands for an end to official secrecy many times, and at the same time has participated in secretive efforts himself, including a UFO study launched by the Defense Intelligence Agency in 2008 and hidden inside a Las Vegas aerospace company. One focus of the DIA's...
It's hilarious when they talk about this stuff and all the camera shots are like from behind chain link fence.
Yeah, what's that about? It's
Like,
more
see,
suspense.
this is suspicious areas. We can't get in. You know, here we go. We sent a film crew to film a chain link fence. All right.
OSAP effort was and is genuinely disturbing. The real-life health consequences for humans who come into contact with UFOs. Hundreds of serious injuries have been documented. OSAP investigators traveled to Brazil to obtain government files related to hundreds of Brazilians treated for injuries after being targeted by UFOs. Dr. Vallée won't discuss specific OSAP files except for cases he provided to the database, injuries which he says were not accidental.
So I can tell you that in my files, some of which I contributed to the database, there are at least half a dozen well-documented cases where the injuries that resulted in death were deliberate.
Incidents in which UFOs deliberately cause physical harm to humans are rare, according to personnel who have seen the full OSAP files, but they do occur. Dr. Colm Kelleher, one of OSAP's managers, has said bluntly that UFOs are bad for human health. Could that be a reason to keep secrets? If there is some kind of non-human intelligence here, the secrecy starts with them. But governments in...
What they're going to sell us on a certain type of shot that you have to take now for UFOs.
The UFO shot?
UFO lockdowns are coming.
UFO lockdowns.
Yeah,
right.
you know, because like all the disclosure stuff has been really ramping up lately. We talk about it all the time when we talk about this stuff, and the whistleblowers have been in the news so much. I think Vallée is a really interesting guy, but he's just another person who's worked in the government a lot. But I like listening to him talk about it. But this has been the narrative lately. Like they're making it way more pressing. These whistleblowers, when they talk about it, it's like way more of an imminent threat. You know, it's not so rare. It's just, well, it hasn't been talked about like this in a long time. Probably since like Operation, was it Blue Book? Project Blue Book, when they did all the releases in the 50s or 60s of UFO reports. But it's been ramping up. So
What do you think?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, I personally really don't think it's extraterrestrials. I think it's us. I think we do these things to people, and we have technology that we can't comprehend because the people who go to Bohemian Grove are building it, you know, and funding all that stuff. Just like the way they built the atom bomb, you know, and that shocked everyone when that was, you know, allegedly thrown out of the sky, because that's a whole other theory. We don't have to get into it. But you know, we know they build all these crazy things without us knowing. And we also know, like, I think it was a year or two ago. We might have talked about it on the show. I think it was in Peru. Maybe you want to look it up. In Peru, there was like a village getting attacked by aliens.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be miners, miners,
Yes, we talked
not
about that.
child miners.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like those people were fearing something terrifying and trying to be like, I think they were on jetpacks or something. But like, I also don't know. I'm just a little flawed human being. And like, they might be from another reality. They might be interdimensional. They might be from under the ocean. I don't know. What I do think is interesting though is the way even like local news channels now are doing very serious not hit pieces, but like hits on this stuff. Talking to someone who's been, on the front lines, like this guy's done Rogan, I believe, at least once. So like sort of mainstream with this idea. But now this actual talking point of UFOs being dangerous to us, like almost like it's a virus, is not something so new. Because in the past 2 or 3 years, Tucker Carlson's talked about it. He's had someone on his show, and they said they know people who like touched a UFO, and I think they were thrown back or whatnot, And then we talked about a few weeks ago those Russians who are allegedly frozen or something,
statues.
turned to stone. Look, people are throwing salt pillars in the Bible. Anything's possible, and I don't know. Let's finish and see what else I have to say.
Cool.
In particular, the U.S. government have created multiple other levels of secrecy.
The atomic secrecy,
Oh, there we go.
primarily, which most people in the Pentagon are not cleared for. And then the military secrecy and the strategic secrecy, and then the diplomatic secrecy.
In Dr. Vallée's most recent book, Forbidden Science, Scattered Castles, he shares private exchanges with colleagues from the OSAP program, including Las Vegas billionaire Robert Bigelow and a close-knit group of scientists nicknamed the Lone Stars. The scientists, some of them former CIA contractors, accept that the U.S. government has recovered crashed vehicles of unknown origin, that defense contractors have worked for decades to reverse engineer that technology at secretive facilities.
Maybe he's about to say it, but when he said defense contractors, they showed us an image of Lockheed Martin. And that would be the people who I think are building these things, actually. But, who knows? I also believe it's very possible we have breakaway civilizations from many thousands of years ago. And they had technology that could be as advanced, if not way more advanced than what we have today that we know of. And they're the ones spying on us. So who knows what we've recovered and who it belongs to. Like I said, I'm just a little human being. I don't know. Let's see.
Is in the desert and elsewhere. They say adversary nations have done likewise. The race to duplicate that technology means national security is at stake. Vallée favors transparency, but worries that an official declaration could prove chaotic.
So if we want to disclose something as simple as saying, yes, we acknowledge the phenomenon, and it seems to be from space, we would have to, once you do that, you have to answer 100 other questions. This is not the end. This is not the end of the story.
While Dr. Vallée is encouraged by the renewed interest in UFOs within Congress, mainstream media, and academia, he thinks someone needs to craft a well-planned strategy for how to unleash what would likely be the biggest news story in history.
I think we should disclose, but we should disclose with a structure, and the structure hasn't been invented yet.
George Knapp, 8 News Now.
The DIA investigation based
I like to hear
here in Las Vegas was supposed to last 5 years. Funding was cut off, though, after 27 months. But it did produce an enormous body of work, not one page of which has been made public 14 years after that program ended.
That is interesting.
And you can watch George Knapp and all of our 8 News Now investigate.
A very weird, absurd, news bit when they cut back to the person in studio. Yeah, and it's very and now, go to our website. We just talked about aliens. And you just talked about
There's so much like
retrieved crashes.
unserious people.
And she just talked about it like it was a puppy who got, swept up in a flood and rescued, and it was all good now.
I mean,
sports
yeah.
stuff. But maybe she's an alien.
I could do that job.
Maybe she's an alien. I don't know. Like, it's interesting to see him talk about the structure of disclosure, what that even looks like, and then like how so many people have no more trust in the government. And not even like their distrust is at such a level that their transparency, doesn't even mean much anymore. And I don't think it really matters what administration's in there. Like, I know people appreciate a lot of the stuff going on right now, but when it comes to these really like big old questions that used to be taboo, I don't know if even the Trump administration could release something and people would just be like, oh, you know what? I accept it. I don't know. Do you think that? Do you think, like, would you buy it if tomorrow Pam Bondi got on Fox News
No.
and said, there's aliens, we've been retrieving their UFOs?
As long as I can see it.
But you think seeing it?
I mean, where's the
would
Epstein
help?
files? I mean, come on now.
Nice.
So
There you go. That's what they're going to do. They're going to try to give you UFOs to distract you from the Epstein files. The Epstein files don't exist.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
No.
I don't think they exist. I think everything was shredded. There's nothing. I really don't think there's much. And whatever I've always believed that even if Trump and his administration releases something with Epstein, I'm gonna have a hard time believing it.
I mean, look, I'm not gullible, but I can be easily persuaded.
I just think that those files have passed through so many hands through different administrations.
There's just a lot of this covering up that's happening.
Whatever they have now, who knows? The alien thing, that is like an existential thing. The Epstein thing is existential in like a, local to humanity. The alien thing is like, this might make you question the way you see the world. But there's people who have people of faith, Christians, Jews, Muslims, who might have a real issue with being told that there's this alien thing, But I will say, was it the last pope or the pope before him? For the Catholics, said, we can accept, I think he said something about accepting aliens or UFOs. So some people have been primed for it. I just have major distrust for disclosure. And I'm so stubborn and skeptical. I don't think even them showing me something means anything. In the world of AI, in the world of they can fake build anything. I don't know.